Have you ever wondered what ambition and greed truly are? Are they the driving force behind human evolution or the source of all misfortunes? Beneath the facade of wildly successful individuals or deep within endless power struggles, where does the fine line between aspiration and insatiable craving lie? Let's explore the true nature of these two seemingly opposite yet intertwined concepts that have shaped our history and future. Welcome to Hidden Past and the series 70,000 Years of Human Secrets. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other videos exploring human mysteries. If you find this video interesting and useful, please like and share to support us. We will begin our journey into the nature of ambition and greed by clearly defining these two concepts, because the boundaries between them are often very vague. Ambition is a strong desire to achieve success, power, wealth, or any lofty goal. It is a positive force, motivating people to set goals, strive to learn, work hard, and overcome all challenges. Ambition can bring great achievements, from discovering new continents, building empires, to inventing modern technology that changes lives. It is the fire that ignites the potential within each individual, encourages creativity and innovation, contributing to the overall progress of society. An ambitious scientist may spend his life finding a cure for incurable diseases. An ambitious businessman can build a corporation that brings thousands of jobs and value to the community. Or an ambitious artist can create timeless masterpieces. Greed, on the other hand, is an excessive, unrelenting desire to possess more than one needs, often at the expense of morality, justice, and the interests of others. Greed is more than just wanting. It involves insatiable accumulation and the fear of loss. It is a bottomless pit that can never be filled, driving people into a spiral of selfishness, deceit, and even violence. Greed can manifest in many forms: greed for money, power, fame, or even control. When greed takes over, it makes people slaves to their own desires, losing the ability to feel happiness and fulfillment. A greedy person may be willing to trample on others for personal gain, destroy the environment for profit, or wage war just to expand their territory. So where does the intersection and the fundamental difference lie? Ambition is often tied to personal growth and value creation, even if the ultimate goal may be personal glory. It has an invisible limit, a stopping point determined by ethics and conscience. Once you achieve one goal, ambition can transform into a higher goal, but always with respect for rules and boundaries. Greed, on the other hand, has no limits. It is a boundless desire, often related to taking from others or simply accumulating without a clear purpose, other than to have more. When ambition crosses the ethical line and turns into relentless appropriation, that is greed. To understand the roots of ambition and greed, we need to look back at human evolution. As hunter-gatherers, our ancestors lived in small groups with basic needs for food, shelter, and safety. In this environment, individual greed was often constrained by social structure and the need for cooperation for survival. It made no sense to hoard resources without the means to preserve them, and appropriating resources from others could lead to exclusion from the community, directly threatening life. However, the agricultural revolution, about 12,000 years ago, changed the landscape. With the ability to cultivate land and raise livestock, humans began to produce surplus food. This surplus not only ensured survival, but also opened up the possibility of storage, from which the concept of property and ownership arose. This was the premise for the development of ambition, as humans began to dream of owning more land, more livestock, to ensure safety and social status for themselves and their descendants.
But at the same time, it also sowed the seeds of greed. The fear of losing what they had accumulated, combined with the desire to constantly expand their property, pushed humans into a spiral of harder labor, wars over resources, and deeper social divisions. Harari calls this an evolutionary trap, where humans work harder but are not necessarily happier, trapped in a cycle of production and accumulation.
Next, the emergence of imaginary grids, shared stories, beliefs, and rules that millions of people subscribe to, made it possible for large-scale cooperation and more complex societies. Money, corporations, states, and laws are all examples of these imaginary grids. They do not exist in nature, but are products of the collective human imagination. These imaginary grids expanded the scope for ambition and greed to operate. A corporation had no physical limit to the amount of assets it could own, and a greedy person could accumulate unlimited wealth through complex financial mechanisms without having to sweat directly in the field. Political power also became a target of ambition and greed, as controlling these imaginary grids could bring enormous benefits. From a psychological perspective, ambition and greed can both be related to the brain's reward system, specifically dopamine. When we achieve a goal or possess something we desire, the brain releases dopamine, creating a feeling of satisfaction and satisfaction. This reinforces the behavior and motivates us to repeat it. Ambition can be seen as seeking satisfaction from achievement and growth. However, greed appears when this mechanism is distorted. People no longer feel satisfied, but always seek the feeling of excitement from owning more or controlling more, even though those things are not really necessary or bring intrinsic value. The fear of being left behind, FOMO, fear of missing out, is also a factor that drives greed, when people always compare themselves with others and feel the need to have what others have, or even more. In modern society, ambition and greed manifest themselves in many diverse and complex forms. Ambition can be the driving force behind a student's efforts to achieve a prestigious scholarship, a startup's quest to develop groundbreaking technology, or an athlete's drive to win an Olympic gold medal. These ambitions not only benefit individuals, but also contribute to the advancement of science, economics, and sports, improving the quality of life for millions of people. However, we also see the darker manifestations of greed. Financial greed can lead to global economic crises when individuals or organizations are willing to make high-risk, unethical transactions for personal gain. Political greed for power can lead to corruption, dictatorship, and conflicts that cause great loss of life and property. Material greed, fueled by consumerism, leads people to constantly buy unnecessary things, depleting natural resources and polluting the environment. The excessive accumulation of wealth in the hands of a few, while billions of others live in poverty, is a clear demonstration of the consequences of uncontrolled greed. One of the most complex aspects of ambition and greed is their relationship to happiness. Numerous studies show that once basic needs are met, the endless pursuit of wealth and status does not actually bring lasting happiness. In fact, it often leads to anxiety, stress, and a sense of emptiness. Greed creates a never-ending cycle. You get more, but want more, and never feel satisfied. True happiness often comes from feeling satisfied, from meaningful relationships, from giving back to your community, and from personal growth, not from endless material accumulation. Ambition and greed also play important roles in economic and social systems. In a capitalist system, individual ambition is encouraged as a driving force for prosperity and innovation. Entrepreneurs aspire to create new products and services, and businesses aspire to expand markets and create jobs. However, without controls and regulation, ambition can easily turn into greed, leading to severe economic inequality, labor exploitation, and environmental destruction.
The imbalance between positive ambition and negative greed is a major challenge facing any society. Public policies must seek to encourage creative ambition while simultaneously restraining destructive greed.
A big question is, can humans live without ambition? The answer is probably no. Ambition, to some extent, is an instinct for survival and growth. It drives us to learn, adapt, and seek better opportunities. Without ambition, society would stagnate, without the drive to improve or innovate. Ambition helps us push ourselves beyond our limits, discover new things, and create lasting value. It is an integral part of the human experience, as long as it is guided by ethical values and a sense of social responsibility. However, to prevent ambition from turning into greed, it is important to have a deep self-awareness and self-control. This requires us to understand our true worth, know what is enough, and not be blinded by material or power desires. Meditation, practicing gratitude, and focusing on the truly important things in life, such as health, family, friends, and giving back to the community, can help us maintain the line between healthy ambition and toxic greed. In the workplace, ambition can be a driving force for career advancement. An ambitious employee will continually learn, improve their skills, and seek advancement opportunities. This benefits both the individual and the organization. However, when this ambition turns into greed, it can lead to unfair competition, manipulation, and exploitation of others to achieve goals. Organizations need to build a culture that encourages ambition based on collaboration and ethics, rather than focusing solely on profit at all costs. Establishing clear core values and fair reward structures can help shape employee behavior in a positive direction. In personal relationships, ambition can be the desire to build a happy family, a lasting friendship, or a trusting partnership. These are noble ambitions based on love, respect, and sharing. On the other hand, greed can manifest as possessiveness, jealousy, or desire to control others. A greedy person in love may seek to manipulate their partner, or be concerned only with their own personal gain without regard for the other person's feelings. Relationships driven by greed are often toxic and unstable, causing suffering for both parties. The truth about the nature of human ambition and greed is a complex, multidimensional picture that cannot be viewed through a single lens. They are not simple concepts, but powerful forces, both creative and destructive, that have shaped our history and our lives. From the dawn of civilization to the challenges of the modern world, we have always struggled with the tension between the desire to achieve and the temptation of unbridled accumulation. Understanding this nature helps us to recognize the deeper motivations within us and in the society around us, thereby helping us to make wiser choices and lead more balanced and meaningful lives. Ultimately, managing ambition and controlling greed is a learning process. It requires self-reflection, the courage to face our dark sides, and the wisdom to distinguish between what is truly necessary and what is merely a passing desire. We need to seek a purpose in life that is greater than ourselves, a purpose that brings value to the community and the world, rather than focusing solely on our own accumulation. When ambition is guided by compassion and a broader vision, it can become a positive force, bringing about a positive change for humanity. On the other hand, if greed is allowed to rule, it will consume everything, leaving behind only ruin and emptiness. Ambition and greed, two sides of the same coin, have shaped the history and future of humanity. From ancient stories to modern challenges, we have always wrestled with this instinct. What secrets lie behind our deepest motivations, the things that make us unique, superior, yet conflicted? That is the topic of the next video, a topic that will make you ponder the most familiar things in life.
Watch to discover the unsolved mysteries. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out.